hope by next week to start streaming Sunday Masses again, and within one more week to actually be streaming from Mary Mother of the Church, our new parish, even weekday Masses. So it's taken a little bit of work to put together how and where we're going to celebrate in the interim and all of those pieces. But things are starting to come together. I'll put more in the updates for those of you who are subscribed, not to my YouTube channel, but to the parish webpage. I remember when I was a younger man, Pope St. John Paul II would say regularly, "Do not be afraid." And especially as he addressed the youth at World Youth Day, a couple of years, that he had this theme encouraging and asking us to embrace our mission and not to be afraid of the gospel. And I remember a World Youth Day, one of his last ones, when he kept saying this over and over. And finally, all the young people just answered back and said, "We're not scared," right? But it's easier said than done to not live in fear. We really have so much of our lives robbed from us because we live in fear. And I was thinking of that in the relationship between power and weakness, between strength and smallness. Because on the one hand, of course we're scared, because we are vulnerable and small, because we live on this little grain of sand that is hurling around a star in this tiny little solar system that's just a speck of light in a galaxy that is a smaller galaxy among countless galaxies in the universe, right? That we live on a speck of sand, and that even if we think we have our health, it could go at any moment. And even if we think we have relationships to hold on to, they're all fragile and so easily broken. And even if we think that we're okay and that we have some money in the bank, the markets can crash like that. And we could be vulnerable and all of our protections gone. And so reasonably, I guess, we're scared. But if you look at where God stands, and that first reading from Wisdom, that our God is powerful and strong and holds everything in his hands, and he's not scared. He doesn't live in fear. And then if you flip over to the gospel, and as Jesus tells the parable of the weeds growing in the wheat, the slaves who are small and scared and afraid that their job is at risk and their livelihood is at risk, they're saying to the owner, they're saying, "Sir, do you want us to go and rip out the weeds?" But it's from a place of weakness and fear. And the owner says, "No, the weeds aren't going to hurt anything. The kingdom's okay. I've got this. You don't have to worry. Let them grow together and we'll get more." My grandmother would not be okay with that, right? There were no weeds in her garden. Growing up, my dad, he let the weeds grow. It was okay. But my grandmother, she would not be okay with weeds growing in the garden. But the Master was. And in our lives, yes, maybe it's an explanation for why evil people manage to stay around during life. But it's also a story of the good and evil that are woven and sometimes indiscernible, and we're not sure till after which was which in my life. And it would be easy to be scared of what is evil and to want it eradicated and to want to live only in the good. And it would be easy from a place of fear, worried that we might lose the kingdom, worried that the kingdom might be too small for us. But God says, no, it's going to be okay. The kingdom isn't threatened by evil. That it's God's job to save us and our job to cling to God. And in God, we aren't so horribly vulnerable. In God, we are strong because God is strong. In God, we're safe because God is safe. Because the kingdom is not at risk. The kingdom is not at risk. God's kingdom is not at risk. And we can live in that certainty in so many parts of our life where fear, vulnerability leaves us too small, too vulnerable, too quick, too rash. The Father would say, no, let it go. Let the weeds grow for now. You might make a mistake that you'd regret. God's big enough. God's strong enough. He's strong enough for me. He's strong enough for you. And in this certainty, this powerfulness that is God, we can be okay. And maybe even little by little, with his help, we can live beyond, live without